Act 1 of The Social War of 1900 by Simon Landis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Social War of 1900, or The Conspirators and Lovers. Cast of characters.
Dr. Victor Juno, the hero, a bold, scientific, fearless reformer. Read by Todd.
Miss Lucinda Armington, the heroine, a woman who can stand alone. Read by Jen Broda.
General Washington Armington, a genuine Christian and millionaire. Read by Robert McCours.
Deacon Rob Stew, most villainous, cunning hypocrite. Read by Chuck Williamson.
Pat O'Connor, a shrewd, humorous Irishman. Read by Greg Giordano.
Priest Joe Peer, a comically cowardly Pharisee. Read by Thomas Peter.
Dr. Toy Pantsy, a vile old fogey doctor. Read by Jim Hedrick.
Physician-in-Chief of Insane Asylum, a hypocrite. Read by Claudia Caldi.
Mr. Grumbler, a fearless conspirator. Read by Adrian Stevens. General Orthod, commander of the Conspirators' Army. Read by Adrian Stevens.
Captain Savage, a conspirator. Read by Lorda.
Colonel Stuckup, a conspirator. Read by Jim Hedrick.
Honorable Bluster Gibbons, conspirators prosecuting attorney. Read by Ben Tucker.
Servants of the Insane Asylum. George, read by Jim Hedrick.
William, read by Adrian Stevens. Jimmy, read by Adrian Stevens.
Night Watchman, read by Jim Hedrick.
Nancy Clover, a daredevil and cunning viper. Read by M. Lee.
Judy McCrae, an honest Irish girl. Read by Kelly Taylor.
Servant, read by Victoria Alice Bell.
Angel, read by Claudia Caldi.
Gustav Fierce, read by Mia Roy.
George Henry Atkinson, by Inco.
William Snigglefritz, read by Greg Giordano.
Soldier, read by Red Run.
Soldiers, read by Inco.
Captain, read by Claudia Caldi.
Stage directions, read by Alan Mapstone. Costumes, period 1900. Costumes modern until the war begins, when the army of the naturalists are to be dressed in grey and the army of the conspirators in blue, in imitation of the US Army. Act 1. Scene 1. The conspirators meet in Tabernacle Hall in sacredly secret conclave. Prester Joe Peer in the chair. Discovered. Groove 1.
Mr. President, I have a very important matter to lay before you, which requires immediate action. And I hope that the Brotherhood is ready to use any means to accomplish what I propose. Should there be any chicken-hearted brothers or sisters present, I move that they be expelled.
Mr. Grumbler, jumping to his feet, said roughly,
Mr. President, our deacon is too imperious, and I shall oppose such broadcast dictation. If he don't trust us, neither shall we return the compliment.
Stop, Mr. Grumbler. You are a suspicious and faithless fool, who is not to be trusted with any important work. I say emphatically, Mr. President, that Brother Grumbler shall at once leave the room.
I will leave this matter to the majority of the friends.
Brothers, I am grieved at your silly conduct. Are we not a unit? Does not a house divided against itself fall? And shall we quarrel amongst ourselves whilst a dangerous enemy is entering into our family, who, if his course is not summarily checked, will destroy our influence and beloved cause entirely?
I now call for the question and plans of Deacon Stew.
Beloved saints, we are the elect, and it behooves us to use any means to keep innovators and reprobates away from our path. First, we shall use moderate but effectual means. If, however, they fail, we shall, secondly, drive the bullet or dagger to the inner recesses of the heart of the defiler of the brotherhood. There is a man in our midst who has always held sentiments antagonistic to and dangerously at variance with our common cause, who has gained great influence in the family of our most heroic and wealthy co-laborer. I mean the family of General Armington. This innovator, by some act of his, has obtained access to the heart and home of the general, and aims to obtain the hand of Miss Lucinda Armington, which, should he be successful, would ruin our peace, comfort, and safety in all time to come. Brothers and sisters, do you comprehend our condition? And do you swear renewed allegiance to our cause and the work I propose?
We do.
All have sworn.
You have renewed your vows, and I can now confide my bloody plans to your heads and hands. Therefore, we shall at once dispatch this sacrilegious innovator, whose very name curdles my blood and fits me to do such bitter business as would cause the devil to quake.
Beloved saints, we certainly have arduous duties to perform, and they are of such a character as to cause me to tremble in my boots, unless the most zealous followers of the craft are selected to enact the work now in contemplation. I should be happy to hear the plan of Deacon Stew, whilst Mr. Grumbler will be dispatched to summon Dr. Toy Pancy to come with him instantly to this hall.
Oh, it gives me much joy to be able to propose an effectual plan for the speedy removal of that enemy to the elect. I have been chosen by General Armington to select a physician for this man, Juno, and if we induce the physician whom our worthy president just sent for to slyly administer some fatal drug to this great admirer of heathendom, I am convinced that our task will be easy. Beloved saints, it is always wiser and better to pray much, long, and often in public, as it shuts up the eyes completely of many worldlings, and in fact makes some or most of our own members and other Christians more respectful to and confiding in us.
The noble and indomitable brother Rob Stew has given us all that could be desired, even from an angel. Therefore I rise to say amen to it all.
Enter Mr. Grumbler and Dr. Toy Pancy.
Brother Pansy, we are delighted to see you with us upon such short notice.
At your service, brethren. What is your pleasure?
Dear Doctor, we have a most important little job for you, which requires perfect secrecy and great shrewdness. Our worthy president has selected you as the most trustworthy and able physician of the Brotherhood to do what has been planned by us.
Brethren, I assure our most excellent president that I appreciate his confidence which he has so liberally placed in the skill and trustworthiness of my humble self, and I assure him that if it is in my power I shall perform whatever task is assigned me.
May the blessing of the saints continually abide with so faithful a disciple. Deacon Stew will give you your instructions privately.
Certainly, your reverence.
Deacon Stew will now conduct the doctor into the anteroom and explain his work.
Scene 2. General Armington's mansion. Bedchamber of Miss Lucinda Armington, reclining on lounge, who is sick. Enter Deacon Rob Stew and the General. Groove 2.
Oh, General, I am deeply grieved at the sad story of this young physician, as well as being sorrowful to find your noble daughter sick after such a providential escape. It is my heartfelt prayer that all may come right very speedily.
Thank you. I am sure the excellent young gentleman, who has been so brave and unselfish, will soon be restored to health.
Daughter, I am delighted to hear you express yourself so kindly towards this heroic gentleman, well, for you seldom have anything favourable to say of the male gender.
Accursed be her tongue.
Aside.
Certainly Miss Armington could not feel otherwise toward a man who saved her life, for he must be a brave and worthy creature.
Thanks, Deacon Stew. I am not ungrateful. Moreover, dear father, I feel that we should employ the best medical talent to save Mr. Juno from a tedious and protracted illness.
Oh, you are very thoughtful, my darling. Brother Stew, you would be the ablest man to select a good, pious doctor, as I believe greatly in the virtue of grace.
General, your wisdom and Christian worth charm me, and I know a very eminent Christian physician who never fails in the fulfillment of anything that he undertakes.
Father, why should I not be equally brave and determined to save Victor Juno's life, as he was to save mine when our horses ran away?
My darling, I should be pleased to see you use every effort to do so, and the deacon has selected Dr. Toy Pansy to attend Victor Juno. Dr. Pansy is an honorable Christian physician of great ability.
Miss Lucinda, I hope you are pleased with my selection of a physician for your courageous young savior. I mean, Mr. Juno.
Deacon, I am very much indebted to you for going to so much trouble.
My dear Miss Lucinda, you do not understand me. I have not felt it was the least trouble to serve you, or this young gentleman.
I am glad that I have not asked too much of you, but when I come to think, it was not my intention to have you select a physician, but it was Father's doing, who has such unfeigned confidence in your worth and goodness.
I appreciate this compliment, and shall endeavor to merit it.
Scene 3. Piazza of General Armington's residence. Enter Deacon Rob Stew from the residence and Pat O'Connor from left. Groove 1.
Pat, how do you find things today? Have you heard anything lately of this Mr. Juno?
Surely, your honour must know more than I do's. of what am I going on in this house, or at Mr. Juno's place. You are a cunning gentleman. Be jabbers, you make hay, I believe, while the sun shines. Will your honour have the graciousness to keep my secret away from Miss Armington?
Pat, never fear me. But to convince you of my trustworthiness, I will tell you a great secret, if you promise to hold it sacred, and will serve me.
Ah, murder, your honour! Don't be a placing me on an equality with your holy self. I'm only a poor working Irishman. Howsomever, I can keep secrets, I warrant ye, and if I can sarve ye, I'll do it without thanks.
I believe you, Pat, and as you have confided in me without solicitation on my part, I will now return the compliment and tell you that I hate that Victor Juno. He is a heathen, a heretic, and an impudent innovator. And although, good Pat, you and I do not agree in religion exactly, yet we are Christians, whom this Mr. Juno tries to undermine and ruin by his worldly notions. Therefore, Pat, will you help us to put him where he belongs?
Well, your honour, I bees at your service to do anything that bees not too indecent, and I'm a thinking where this Juno chap belongs. Will your honour please tell me?
Pat looks quizzically.
Why, sir, he belongs to the ground from whence he came, and I have a plan at work that will place him forever beyond stepping into my or your path.
Ah, how holy Moses! I smell a mighty big rat, or I'm no man.
Aside,
your honour knows what's best, and I'll be sacred and sarve ye in any way. But here comes Judy McCrae, so good day to your honour.
Exit Deacon Rob Stew.
Judy, darling, and I have a secret to confide to your bosom. Could I but feel certain that me darling could keep a dreadful secret?
Why, Pat, you speaks like a crazy man. Do you think I become a traitress and a vagabond? And have you lost faith in your Judy?
No, me darling, be me soul, ere accusing me wrongly. Howsoever, I have a monstrous secret to tell ye, and if ye promise to keep it good, I will give it ye, and I want ye to help me to worry the matter out.
I'm sure I'll do it all you please, dear Pat.
Open your eyes then, Judy darling, and listen. Do you know that old hypocrite Deacon Stew be's meaning harm to do the brave young lord Victor Juno?
Ye don't mean that, Pat, darling.
Mean it? Begorra, I knows it, but I'll fix the dirty old blackguard or I'll be no man. Judy darling, will ye help me to watch the squilly curmudgeon?
Certainly I will.
A blazing idea strikes me mind, and that biz we must tell Miss Armington of the attempt this Deacon be's making to murder Victor Juno.
Murder? Juno?
Yes, bloody murder. Just now I'm reading. Ye get Miss Armington to consult with ye and me, and do it quick.
Exit Pat O'Connor and Judy McCrae. Scene 4. Library of General Armington. Enter Miss L. Armington, Pat O'Connor, and Judy McCrae. Groove 2.
Miss Armington, after having your promise to keep this entire matter sacred, and also your promise to relate to Mr. Juno the danger what threatens him, with his promise to keep it sacred, I'll just unhitch my soul of the burden of my heart.
Well, go on, Pat, and let me hear it.
Me lady, you knows ye and your father axed Deacon Stew to get a doctor for Mr. Juno, and I had me ideas rubbed up that Deacon Stew, what loves your lady and hates Mr. Juno, has played ye and your father false by getting a tricky doctor what will poison Mr. Juno.
Oh, Pat, you surely cannot think that of...
Shuddering.
Deacon Rob Stew. He is a good Christian, and would not do such a foul act as to employ a murdering physician.
Be me soul, Miss Armington, may I stop to believe my own senses, if it ain't the truth.
But, Pat, how do you know all these things?
Good lady, only keep secret and I'll tell ye. That day when Deacon Rob Stew was at your bedside, I told Judy McCrae to send Deacon Rob Stew out by the side door when I runned accidentally against his honor, which made him spake to me. I humbly apologized and asked him about Victor Juno in a manner which made him believe I hated Mr. Juno, when the old curmudge, beg your pardon for forgetting myself.
Go on, Pat.
Well, your ladyship, I was a-going to say Deacon Stew spake confiding to me and said, Pat, if I could trust ye, I have a job that would make ye rich. I suspected his deviltry when I blarneyed him, and what you think? He unbosomed the dirtiest plans of his hypercritical heart to meself, and I thought, be jabbers, Pat, here is a way to larn secrets that will be of service to me lovely mistress, when I swore, with one eye shut, and a mental reserve to lead him into the field of battle. He told me enough to conclude that he meant to poison Mr. Juno, and me plans are that ye secretly go to Mr. Juno's house and keep an eye on that doctor chap.
Oh, Pat, how can I believe or do all this?
Be my soul, I have told ye only what am good truth. Ye can ask Judy McCrae here, what can tell ye I am spaking only the truth.
Faith, me sweet lady, Pat O'Connor spake the holy truth so far as I knows.
Exit Pat and Judy.
Oh, what shall I do? I cannot let father know of this conspiracy to murder Victor Juno, nor can I allow them to poison him, since I can save him. How shall I manage this matter? Oh, how must I act? Great powers above, guide my distressed soul aright. I have it. I will go in disguise to the house of Victor Juno and request to see him as an old aunt of his. I understand he has an only relative, and that is an elderly aunt. I'll personate her, and when I once reach his bedside, I'll manage to make him understand me. This will be his salvation, although it may prove my ruination.
Scene 5. Chamber in Dr. Juno's house. Enter Miss Armington in disguise as Victor's aunt. She goes to his side and arouses him from a slumber. Groove 3.
I feel as though an angel from on high, in disguise, was before me.
Here he takes both her hands in his.
Mr. Juno, I hope you will pardon me for appearing before you in this peculiar manner.
Certainly, my brave young lady. I feel from my innermost soul that you are here on a mission of mercy.
Mr. Juno, please do not exhaust yourself, but if you are not too weak, I will relate to you why I came here, and in this disguise.
Speak. Oh, speak, sweet lady. Your presence electrifies and strengthens me, and I am quite well enough to listen to anything that your charming voice may relate.
Speaks this quite vigorously.
Friend Juno, beg your pardon, Mr. Juno.
Dear angel, use the former, and believe me that my very soul is yours, and I feel assured that your heart beats in unison with mine, or you would not be thus.
Looking worlds of love into her eyes.
May you never doubt my sincerity and motives, but still, I am almost a perfect stranger to you.
My beloved lady, why should you feel in the least embarrassed or backwards in the presence of a man who would lose his life 10,000 times to give you one meagre joy?
Speak no more, dear friend. You have indeed saved my miserable life at triple the danger of losing your own. Therefore, I would indeed be an ingrate to withhold anything from you.
Thanks, many thanks, for this delicious candor. And will you now be kind enough to relate what you spoke of?
Oh, I have some terrible things to tell you, which may not be any benefit to your shattered nerves, but there is a greater danger overhanging you than my story can produce, should you be kept in ignorance of what I know. You will, therefore, find that my presence at this hour, and in this awkward disguise, may save your precious life, which, if such be the case, will, at least, repay you for the great service you have done me and my father.
Beloved angel, why do you mention what I did? You certainly cannot deem me so selfish as to hope I labored for compensation.
Oh, no, certainly not. I did not mean that, but I suppose it was
love that prompted the wholesome act. Say it, sweetest lady, and I believe you.
Yes, sir, indeed it was.
My soul is rejoiced that my never-ceasing affection for you is reciprocated, if I may be so bold as to esteem myself so blessed.
Miss Armington, she bows modestly.
This truly is the happiest moment of my life.
Victor draws her to his bosom and kisses her.
My darling, I shall be pleased now to listen to the horrible things of which you spoke.
I will tell you, but hope you will see the necessity of keeping the whole matter a sacred secret. Otherwise, ruination might befall us both.
No, darling, have more faith in my Cupid God.
Well, my noble friend, you will see the good of being cautious about making known my visit, disguise, and story.
Of course, sweet love, I shall be perfectly silent.
Thanks, blessed Victor. But to the point. I have a faithful servant at home who has overheard a secret plot to murder you, and that by people whom you have never injured and of whom you would not think that they could be guilty of such dark deeds.
My darling, allow me to ask who these parties are, and whether your servant really is reliable.
Yes, good Victor, my servant is reliable. Moreover, there are a train of circumstances of which I know that convince me of the existence of such a plot. And further, when I tell you all, you may be able to conjure up some matters that happened in this chamber by which you also will know the truth of what I shall relate. My father is a good, honest man and a great admirer of yourself. I make this remark because when I tell you my story, you might conceive the matter in such a manner as to cause an impression on your mind that dear father had something to do with this vile work, because you certainly must know that Dr. Toy Pancy was employed by father and myself.
What say you? Dr. Toy Pancy?
Yes, Dr. Toy Pancy is a villain who has evidently been trying to poison you whilst he was sitting up with you at night, without your own family doctor knowing anything about it.
Indeed.
Meditating a moment.
I can now know why he was so uneasy and anxious to be alone with me. Please go on and tell me all.
I will, dear Victor, but you may not clearly understand why myself and Father would send you such a villain of a physician. Father and Deacon Rob Stew sat by my bedside when I asked Father to employ a doctor for you. At once he said to the deacon that he was best acquainted with physicians and would ask it as a special favor if he would select a physician. The deacon did so, and this is the manner in which Dr. Toy Pancy came to your bedside.
But, my beloved angel, how could such a course cause Dr. Toy Pancy to have designs upon my life?
You may deem me immodest, but nevertheless, as we have become so well acquainted and love each other, I may tell you that Deacon Rob Stew has been suing for my hand the last year. I learned that he had connived with Pat O'Connor, our coachman, to murder you. Pat, Irish-like, suspicioned this wolf in sheep's clothing when he dissembled and acted as though he also hated you, knowing that the deacon detested you because you are his successful rival.
Is it possible that Dr. Toy Pancy and Deacon Rob Stew have attempted to take my life? I seem to see it all now, and it is you, my most precious darling, who saved my life. But now I'll have an eye on these vile conspirators.
Dear Victor, I am exceedingly happy to see you so much better and able to protect yourself against the danger which threatened your precious life.
I dreamed 3 or 4 times last night that you were by my bedside, as you are, and that we had pledged our mutual vows of love. But every time we wanted to consummate our nuptial ties, some obstacles were thrown into our path by deep, designing enemies. This is all I remember of it, but oh, the horror and despair that I felt was almost unendurable.
It was, of course, only a dream, yet a peculiar one, to say the least, and I shall be in continual dread of these men, who have certainly commenced in earnest.
Enter servant.
Oh, good lady, the house is surrounded by an army of men.
Scene 6. Tabernacle Hall. Further conniving of the bloody conspirators. President Reverend Joe Peer in the chair. Groove 1.
Brothers, as no one but the faithful are present, I may open the door to some new operations.
Mr. President, I have a word to say which will aid a speedy conclusion of plans.
Brother Stew, our noble sister, Nancy Clover, has the right to the floor.
Pardon me, dear sister, I did not intend to be rude, but thought if I could hint to you ere you spoke that I discovered Miss Lucinda Armington leave the General's, her father's house, in disguise last night to go to Victor Juno's residence, you would be better prepared to draw your plans in speedy order.
Thanks, valiant brother Stew. You verily have done me a service, and as I am now prepared to give you my plans for consummating this holy work of purging our cause of all unfaithful members, apostates, and innovators, you will remember that we have one common interest, and if we do not gain our individual points, we nevertheless are a perfect unit in obtaining our combined ends. I find that several of those we love and respect are being led astray. Firstly, then, General Washington Armington is in dangerous hands whilst surrounded by this Mr. Juno. Therefore we must devote time, money, muscle, and brains to break the link that binds the general and this Juno together. The best plan is to cause a sanctimonious anxiety for the general amongst all religious people. That done, then our united attention must be earnestly exercised to ruin the reputation in the general's mind of Victor Juno, who has escaped us and is now beyond reach by the plan that was laid for his death through the faithful brother Dr. Toy Pancy. Secondly, we must generate a hue and cry that Miss Lucinda Armington has compromised her reputation by injudicious familiarities, having in disguise and at an improper hour visited Mr. Juno's residence. Thirdly, that having failed in our first attempt to forever quiet Victor Juno, we must now work amongst the masses of saints of all colors, then aim directly at the life of this vile innovator, and by setting up a howl amongst the brethren, set forth the great danger to our cause, provided this man Juno is not quieted or degraded. This is our next best step. What thinks Brother Stew?
Beloved saints, I have listened with great interest to our valued sister's glorious plans, and have come to the conclusion that what she does not know is not worth knowing. I would also here relate what I did last night, after I learned that Miss Lucinda Armington repaired in disguise to Victor Juno's residence. I called 20 of the faithful to disguise themselves and join me to surround the house of Victor Juno. I concluded, should we find her there, we would abduct her, and take good care that the wretched apostate would never come between us and our enemy. But, for some cause or other, we missed our prey.
You were not very sharp.
Well, as bad luck would have it, they were apprised by Mr. Juno's servant that we were surrounding the house, but Miss Armington escaped notwithstanding.
How do you know that she escaped? Did you search the house?
No, sir. We did not search the house at all. But when I found that Dr. Toy Pancy failed to find her, or the bogus aunt, I drew my comrades aside and directed them to disband for the present.
Ha, ha, ha! She was too smart for you, and escaped evidently the back way, before the residence of Juno was besieged. I see by the Sunday newspapers that Juno is going to preach next Sunday evening in the theatre.
He must be stopped. He shall not be allowed to speak to the people, who glory in his impious harangues. Brothers and sisters, we are lost if this innovator is allowed to go on in this manner.
Applause. Scene 7. Crowded theatre. Victor Juno's scathing sermon on the rock upon which the church splits. Whole stage.
Beloved friends, I will speak to you this evening on the rock upon which the church split. I have nothing new to offer, but as Shakespeare says, old things wax new when lovers grow cold. And I argue that the love for a natural Creator, who has made everything for our pleasure, joy, and perpetual bliss, has grown very cold. In sooth, God and nature are esteemed vulgar monitors, if we accept the actions of the professed saints as criterions to go by. Each stupid sect, in error bound, think they the only road have found to paradise complete. There exists only one church, namely, the universal or natural Church of God. There are no such things in God's or nature's vocabulary as churches. Moreover, a church is not a house made of bricks, mortar, wood, and cushioned seats, but the church is composed of law, order, principle, heavens, earth, air, and all the multitudinous little injunctions of the Creator. Knowing, therefore, what the Church of God is, we can soon behold what split this hallowed natural institution, namely, reading the Bible, without first understanding the science of human life, or laws of nature, hence not being able to cipher out the meaning of God and nature. One must understand the multiplication table before he can use the arithmetic to advantage. So also must one comprehend the true anatomy and sound physiology before he can understand that the Bible and fixed laws of nature and nature's God agree. Friends of free, noble America, are you going to allow the meanest monarchy on earth to rob you of your inalienable rights? I mean the sectarian money monarchy. Are you going to stand by, rubbing your bloodshot eyes, and blaming God for the miseries and serfdom you suffer, whilst cunning, craft, hypocrisy, and the most cruel deceptions are continually practised upon you by these false interpreters of the Bible, who would have you dance to their fiddle, or see you suffer the veriest slavery, but withal howl of freedom and American liberty? Why, my dear friends, there are leaders at the head of these misled enthusiasts, who would enter into any foul conspiracy for the purpose of gaining their pharisaical ends. The bloodiest conspirators of all ages are at the helm of this sanctimonious work of deviltry. They crucify the disciple of truth anew, and connive to slay him, because they think they own heaven, earth, man, and his liberty to serve God.
Applause.
With God and nature, I cry aloud, and spare not him who sets himself against the fixed laws of an unchangeable Creator. And I exhort and pray you, instead of God, to rise up as one man and slay the hydra-headed monster that would stay the stream of a God-ordained piety.
Applause.
I ask you to lead natural, physiological lives, returning to truth, nature, and sound sense, and unless you fight for principle and justice, you cannot expect salvation. I live to hail the season, by gifted men foretold, when men shall live by reason, and not alone by gold. When man to man united, and every wrong thing righted, the whole world shall be lighted, as Eden was of old.
Applause. Riot. Naturalists conquer. End of Act 1. Act 2 of The Social War of 1900 by Simon Landis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Social War of 1900, or The Conspirators and Lovers. Act 2. Scene 1. General Armington's library. The General in deep meditation about the reported elopement and seduction of Lucinda by Victor. Groove 1. General Armington soliloquizing.
Oh, why should my faithful and loving daughter elope with Victor Juno? Why should he desire to do so, as long as I have encouraged their union?
Enter Deacon Rob Stew.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, my dear brother, do not take this elopement so seriously to heart, for I have rather good news for you.
What is it? Speak.
Why, sir, I have just received a letter from New York, from a faithful brother, who says that he saw a lady and gentleman answering to the description of Miss Lucinda and Dr. Juno take passage on a steamer for Liverpool last week.
Indeed, sir, but I don't believe it.
Don't believe it? And what reason have you to doubt it? Surely they have eloped.
Silence, Deacon Stew! I believe that there is some foul plot at work to remove these innocent young people from my presence. They were not opposed by me in their desire to become man and wife, and then why should they elope, I want to know?
General, you confound my ideas. But if you had not lost patience with me, I think I could set your mind at ease on this subject.
Much frightened.
Well, sir, speak. I am all patience.
Pardon me when I say that I am confident that Miss Armington was pure. But Dr. Juno did not desire marriage with your daughter. He had other designs upon the lovely and unsuspecting daughter of your house, and this is the reason that he eloped with her, very likely promising marriage.
Oh, horrible, horrible.
Weeps.
My dear brother, please be consoled, and trust in the Lord.
Oh, Deacon, I have never dreamed of what you have just insinuated, but I feel that my poor child has fallen into the hands of a monster.
If you desire it, dear brother, I will do my utmost to arrest this demon. Or probably it would be as well for us to telegraph to Liverpool and request the authorities there to arrest him when he arrives.
No, good brother, I think I had better at once get ready and follow these truant children. Oh, daughter, daughter, what have you done? I have centered my whole life, soul, and spirit on you, and for you to be thus snatched from me is more than an old man can endure. Oh, heaven, aid and comfort my bleeding heart.
Exit General Armington.
When Sister Nancy Clover learns the true state of things, she will fairly glut over the success of our plot, and be doubly delighted at the distress of the General and the discomfiture of his hateful daughter. When the General is gone to Europe, we shall have a clear track before us. Truly, won't I go to the proud, stuck-up, and apostate Miss Lucinda Armington's prison and dictate my own terms of peace? My caged bird, I'll save you the trouble of disguising yourself again for the purpose of acting the ant, to spoil our holy plans. And as for the heroic and celebrated Dr. Juno, he shall feed on slim victuals, whilst a lingering death shall be his most certain portion this time. Yea, verily, and I shall let him know that it was I, Deacon Rob Stew, of the Orthodox faith, who instigated and managed the skilful abduction and imprisonment of his true love, and I shall cause his complete ruin for molesting the elect in their work of Christianity.
Scene 2. Insane Asylum. Female cell in upper story and dungeon in basement. Miss Lucinda Armington in cell and Victor Juno in dungeon. Groove 2.
Oh, great heaven! Why am I thus confined in this living tomb? Can this be a prison? But why should I be confined in it? Where was I to my last recollection? Let me think. Oh, yes, I remember. Pat O'Connor, Judy McCrae, and myself sat in our dining room conversing over that outrage that had happened to dear Victor at the theater, and I now remember of having gone out into the lawn when suddenly something nasty was thrown over my head, whilst at the same moment strong hands grasped my body, and I knew nothing more. Surely I was then carried to this prison. Oh, horror! Horror! What may, what will become of me? Great powers of glory, protect me and deliver me from my bondage. Who could have been so cruel as to abduct and incarcerate me thus? An idea flashes through my half-frenzied brain. It was the same bloody conspirators who tried to poison my beloved Victor that have sent me to this place. But what will they do with me? This is horrible, most horrible, because anyone who is bad enough to have me thus abducted and imprisoned is also vile enough to abuse and murder me if that suits his pleasure and plans best. What really have I done to merit such foul treatment? Let me think. I have always been kind to everyone, have no enemies that I know of. But now it flashes upon my distressed soul. I have stood by the side of dear Victor. I have conspired with Pat and Judy to save my beloved. Oh, darling Victor, save me now from the impending danger that awaits your unprotected Lucinda. My persecutors are monsters, or they could not tear me away from my dear old father and from my dearly beloved Victor. God, if thou ever hearest the prayers of mortals, hear mine.
Kneeling.
Infinite and all-powerful Creator, I invoke thee and all thy vitalizing influences to stultify and deaden the head and hand that has brought me to this cruel place. I pray thee, Heavenly Father, to shield the just and faithful, whilst thou wilt confound the wicked conspirators who have sought to ruin and destroy me and mine. And, O Lord, look with compassion on thy distressed servant who would freely offer up her life in purity and innocence for the good of heaven's righteous cause. Moreover, I humbly pray thee, send thy messengers of grace to guard and protect my beloved and heroic Victor, whose strifes and struggles on behalf of his race are Herculean. Grant me this humble supplication, and thy name shall have all the glory for ever and ever.
Rattling of chains, unbolting of doors. Enter Deacon Rob Stew in disguise, which causes Miss Lucinda Armington to swoon. Victor Juno, sitting on the floor of his dungeon in a dreamy state, seeing the ghost of General Armington.
Dr. Juno, prepare yourself to meet your God, for I am going to shoot you forthwith for abducting my daughter.
My dear General, you greatly wrong me. I have always treated your daughter with profound respect. Moreover, you forget that I have jeopardized my miserable life to save hers, and I would do so 1,000 times over for the fair virtuous damsel. Why, then, do you accuse me of ruining your child? Have you no more confidence in me than that?
I will forbear until I can investigate the truthfulness of your assertion. If you are guiltless, fear nothing. But go ahead, and may heaven protect the innocent.
General's ghost walks away, but an angel appears holding up two emblems.
Dr. Victor Juno, this emblem,
White one,
represents a youth whose wisdom excels his vanity, and who, if he prove true to his intuitive gifts, will be compelled to go through a fiery furnace for a brief season. But if he continues to trust in another ruling, just, and infinite God, will have this crown set upon his head.
The angel waves the crown in the air and produces another one.
If you prove faithless and fearful, you will inherit this crown.
Red crown,
which is prepared for all who flag and faint in the hour of persecution.
Dashes it to the floor and breaks. Juno awakes.
I have had a peculiar dream. A beautiful dream. But what is there in dreams? Great God, since I am deserted by man, I thank thee for having permitted an angel from yonder realms of the blessed to come unto me, and direct me what course I shall pursue to accomplish my work. I shall heed the admonition, and bear patiently all that my persecutors can heap upon me, knowing that I am in the right. I must also be convinced that God will not permit me to die for naught. And what can it matter to the naturalist whether he is sacrificed in one way or another, only so that his beloved cause may prosper?
Miss Armington comes to, the deacon having darkened the cell.
I have come to offer you freedom, and my heart and hand in marriage, and I hope you will not refuse me this request.
Sir, who are you that dares to insult me thus, and why have you darkened this prison cell? Are your intentions so dark and foul that you cannot present them in the light of day?
I am a man of tender affection towards you, but as I have lately noticed you to conspire with a vile atheist, I felt it my duty to separate you from him until you had time to repent.
Fiend that you are, do you suppose for a moment that a woman could or would yield to a man's wishes, who can be guilty of so foul a deed? Further, I would like to know by whose authority and by what august power you have taken this outrageous task upon yourself to abduct and cast me into this prison.
Dear lady, you are haughty. I really admire your high-toned spirit, but your desire to be sarcastic and stubborn will not profit you aught. Neither will you receive your liberty until you yield to my desires.
Monster! Have you lost your manhood? And how could you expect a woman to accept the proposals of a man, or beast, who uses such criminal measures to gain the hand of a woman?
Go on with your sophistries, but methinks you will be very glad to accept my offer. Now come, let us understand each other. I am handsome, rich, influential, religious, and only 15 or 20 years your senior.
You are handsome, rich, influential, religious, and only 15 or 20 years my senior. Why is it then that you cause total darkness in this cell and disguise yourself? You should show your beauty and give the woman of your philanthropic choice an opportunity to behold that handsome person whose wealth and influence and religion are so prominent. Indeed, your acts exhibit very holy attributes of piety, But as to wealth and riches, I have no doubt that by your demoniacal deeds you are capacitated to wring money from the thousands, and with its corrupting power influence whole communities of your equals in crime.
Hi-ho! But you are a philosopher as well as a charming damsel. By my soul, I am taking renewed fancies for the jewel I have found.
Do you think, sir, that you can conquer me? Do you dare to beard the tigress in her den? You have brought me here from some motive best known to yourself, and whilst you have not the manly courage to show me your features in the light, you may think you have me in your power and can badger and insult me as you choose. But I now warn you to beware how you provoke me, lest by some miraculous power I strike you to my feet and bruise your venomous head.
Sweet lady, you would not do all that at one time, would you, darling of my heart?
She tears the mask from his face and deals him blow after blow upon his mouth, nose, and eyes until the blood flies in every direction.
Now go and leave me, or I'll murder you before you will be able to gain help.
Deacon Stew, humbled and scared.
I'll go, but give me a moment to collect my senses.
Go!
Deacon Stew, going through a secret door and exclaiming,
I'll be a match for you when I call again.
Great heaven!
She runs to the place of exit, but finds it closed and seeming like a wall of adamant. Scene 3. The garden of General Armington. Pat O'Connor and Deacon Rob Stew in discussion. Groove 1.
Deacon, your honor, I've heard such talk about this Mr. Juno chap, what makes me blood run cold. But your honor will not speak again of this matter, will ye?
Certainly not, Pat. But will you tell me what it is?
Och, be St. Patrick, I believe that some of the wicked people started to talk that ye were the cause of Miss Lucinda, me mistress, eloping with that Juno chap because you would not ask her to marry ye.
Is that what you have heard?
Is your honor, that's it.
Sure, Pat, you have heard nothing more. And you do not believe that, do you?
Holy Moses, your honor, I do believe that Miss Armington was mad with ye because you would not ask her for to marry ye, and for to spite ye. She runned away with this Mr. Juno. Do you mind that?
No, my faithful Pat. But as you are a true friend of mine, in whom I feel sure I could entrust my life, I will give you a little insight into this matter. But, Pat, you must be secretive, and not mention it to a living soul.
Holy St. Patrick, I would not spake of it to any person, and if it would smash me life in the smithereens, believe me, your honor.
Oh, I do, good fellow. Well, Pat, Miss Lucinda and Victor Juno did not elope, but they were abducted by some of the medical opponents of Victor Juno.
Abducted, your honor? Bedad, and are ye sure on that? Are ye?
Yes, Pat, I am sure of it.
Holy saints, and ye know that me mistress be murdered, and ye would not tell me master, but let him go to Europe for to hunt his murdered child. Oh, ye bloody curmudgeon, what do you expect will become of ye?
Pat is now ready for a fight.
Pat, you do not understand me.
Begorra, and I do understand ye. Abducted, ye murdering hypocrite, and may the devil swallow me whole body and soul if I don't tell on ye, and at this very power. Ye squally murderer, Philadelphia, abduct me, sweet mistress, and will ye tell me where ye have buried her?
Pat, you are crazy. Listen to me. She is not dead.
Not dead?
Looking amazed and dumbfounded.
How could she be abducted and not be dead?
Now, Pat, calm yourself, and I will explain to you all about it. She is living, healthy, and will evidently be happy when I shall see her and offer myself in marriage to her.
Your Honor, am not hoaxing, am ye?
Looking quizzically, mistrustingly, but his face lighting up.
Certainly not, good Pat. You evidently do not understand the meaning of abduction. Abduction means carefully taken away from danger.
Do it, Your Honor, and I am pleased it means that. But be jabbers, I thought it meant murder.
Well, Pat, you are now satisfied, are you not? And you will keep the secret? For I promise you, all will be for the best.
Yes, sir. I be your faithful servant, as ye please to have me.
Aside.
I'll plaster his nest.
Scene 4. Insane asylum as before. Several weeks intervene between these scenes. Dr. Victor Juno's terrific struggle with the night watchman. Jemmy, an overseer, gives Dr. Juno a hammer, rope and chisel and leaves his cell gates unbolted. Jemmy, the false overseer, calling at the cell gates.
Victor Juno! Victor Juno!
Who calls me? I am Victor Juno.
Hear me. I will leave these gates unbolted, and here are some implements of escape.
Handing them through the feed hole.
But promise me not to leave your cell until tomorrow at midnight.
Noble fellow, I will obey you. Many, many thanks.
You are very welcome, only do not expose me.
Who are you?
I am Jemmy, the overseer and particular friend of Pat O'Connor and Judy McCrae.
Heaven be glorified. Oh, I'll soon be free. Ha ha ha, old Pharisees. I'll be after you worse than ever when I get out of this place.
Deacon Rob Stew's second visit to the cell of Miss Lucinda Armington.
My dear Lucinda, I am delighted to see you, although very sorry to find you in this place.
Miss Armington, at first she looks rather pleased to see him, but the truth flashes upon her mind as she says,
You scoundrel can dissemble beautifully.
What is the matter with my sweet child? Do not look so distressed. I have come to offer you freedom, and my heart and hand in marriage.
Avaunt, you fiend! I know you now, and you need not dissemble and act the hypocrite any longer. I say you had better be gone, or I'll give you another beating that will leave worse marks than the one you now carry on your nose. Do you hear me? Be gone!
Miss Armington, how dare you insult me in this manner, when I came to you in the kindest manner, and with the holiest intentions? You are an ingrate, who deserves no better treatment than you are receiving in this cell, and I shall leave you in a moment as you request it. But before I go, let me say that I am Deacon Rob Stew, and would have you know that my power and influence is greater than any monarch in Europe. Therefore, beware how you insult and cast me off.
You are Deacon Rob Stew, the powerful and influential saint. Yes, and you were handsome before I destroyed your beautiful nose the other day, when I beat you like a howling cur.
You beat me like a howling cur. When and how was that?
If you don't leave me, I will show you how.
Her eyes flashing fire and fury.
Oh, my dear young sister, now come, let us be serious, and talk like Christians, not like sinners. For you must know that I love you, have always hoped you would become my wife. And had it not been for that profligate innovator, Victor Juno, I undoubtedly would have remained foremost in your affections.
May the curse of an avenging maker fall upon your leprous tongue, and the spirit of unrest never cease to molest and torture your wicked soul until you retract every word that you have ever spoken against that honorable gentleman. Yes, may heaven sow thorns and thistles in your path, that your body may be pricked and torn to pieces by them, as you have endeavored to lacerate mine and the noble Victor's hearts by your bloody conspiracies against us both. You are a detestable villain, and I wonder that you are not afraid that the Creator will strike you dead forthwith and send your loathsome soul into the regions of everlasting torment. Do you hear that? Now you have my sentiments, therefore leave me instantly.
I pray you will listen for a moment to me, and then, if you are not satisfied, I will quit you forever.
Well then, say on, but no more insults, remember that.
You blame me for things of which I am entirely innocent. I have never conspired against you, but I cannot say that much for Victor Juno.
Accursed falsifier that you are, would you damn your own hypocritical soul over and over again by adding insult to injury?
Hear me through, before you become so severe. I do not wish to shield myself from any crime or sin that I have committed on your behalf.
What do you mean by saying you have committed crime in my behalf?
My dear Miss Lucinda, I love you, and love is blind to everything. It was this extreme affection for you, sweet lady, that drove me to commit acts that nothing else in the world could have driven me to do.
I have never done anything to encourage you in that direction, and if what you say is true, of which I have my doubts, I pity you. But that is all the consolation you can ever expect from me. Even had I possessed any regard for you, the acts which you have committed against him, whose very footprints I love more than the entire existence of thousands like yourself, would have caused me to spurn you.
Is there then no hope for me? I was told by Pat O'Connor that you only took to Victor Juno because I did not propose marriage to you.
And you are fool enough to believe what my servant told you.
Why should I not have believed it? Did you not always treat me kindly, and appeared glad to see me at your house, until that innovator made his appearance?
Sir, if you desire my audience even in this prison cell, cease to call my beloved Victor names, or I'll refuse to listen to you.
Well, proud lady, I then shall be compelled to remove this beloved Victor from your reach, and unless you promise to lend me your ear and give me some hope, I shall cause his death.
What? Would you become a murderer? Would you add this foul crime to your already blackened deeds done in the body? Avaunt, I say, or I'll tear you limb from limb, you miserable fiend, and save you the trouble, or pleasure, of injuring my beloved Victor.
As you insist upon it, I will leave you. But mark, your beloved Victor shall fare badly. Farewell.
Exit Deacon Rob Stew.
For aught I know, he is now enduring the pangs of a lingering death, because I am sure this vile deacon would be guilty of anything to gain his selfish and brutal ends. Oh, Victor, Victor, may the infinite hand of Jehovah protect and guard you against the wiles, plots and conspiracies of these bloody people. What have you ever done to injure them? What have you ever done to injure anyone? You are so noble, so benevolent, so very generous, and so zealous to improve your race that I cannot see what benefit it is to a man to do good in this world.
Dr. Juno's terrific struggles with the night watchman in the corridor.
I have gained a great point in getting out of my dungeon, but how to make my way out of this corridor is more than I know, which is in itself a perfect prison. I shall not be expected here, much less does anyone dream that I have these implements of escape in my possession. I must wait here till morning, and when the keeper comes, could easily dispatch him. But I do not desire to become a murderer.
Goes behind the door.
The night watchman might not be far away. I'll try a deep moan, and see if I cannot bring him to me. Oh.
Night watchman enters the dark corridor, letting key in door. Dr. Juno secures the key, locks the door and pockets the key. Then they hunt in the dark, meet, grapple, scuffle terribly. Juno gains. Keeper asks for mercy.
Mercy!
If I let you loose, will you promise me to be docile and perfectly quiet? I mean, make no noise?
Certainly I will.
No sooner loose than he makes for the door. Night watchman aside.
I shall have to lock you devil or lunatic up until you can be secured. But, oh heaven, the door is locked.
Sir, you are not as good as your word, and therefore I shall be under the disagreeable necessity of compelling you to be silent.
Night watchman trembling.
What do you want me to do?
Sir, I want your promise to keep silent, and come over here and sit quietly down on the floor until daylight.
If you come near me again, I will shoot or stab you. I have both a revolver and dirk ready for action.
Indeed, sir. Then I shall be compelled to beat your brains out with this huge hammer which I hold in my hand. So you see, two can play at this little game.
Tell me who you are and what do you want. You seem to be sane.
Yes, sir. I fear I am too sane and powerful for you. But who and what I am, or want here, can be no affair of yours this night. So you'd better obey my orders, when not a hair on your head shall be harmed.
Great God, he is mad.
Aside.
Did you bolt this door?
Yes, sir, I did, and have the key of it in my possession.
Swinging the key in his hand.
I say, will you obey me? Speak and act, or I'll send you swift as lightning into the next world.
Murder!
The frightened night watchman screams murder. Dr. Juno strikes in the direction of the voice and hits him, causing him to reel. They grapple terribly, but finally Dr. Juno binds him.
Now, sir, I think your pistol and dirk won't avail you much, and I implore you to give them to me, or I'll handle you very roughly.
I have neither pistol nor dirk.
Then I'll send you to my cell.
He places him in the cell and locks it, after which he escapes. End of Act 2. Act 3 of The Social War of 1900 by Simon Landis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Social War of 1900, or The Conspirators and Lovers. Act 3, Scene 1. Street audience, they frequently applaud. Groove 1.
Beloved friends, until church and state, in my sense of what the Church is, become one, and an indivisible institution, there can be no perpetually natural government established, where God's will be done in earth as it is in heaven, nor can peace and good-will reign between the children of his footstool. Before being able to elucidate this subject scientifically, it behooves me to show you that Church and State simply aim at government, the government of mankind. But before mankind can be governed aright, each one must first learn to understand God's fixed law that was ordained for man's government, and he must then be able to govern himself. And that fixed law is his king, which he must obey, or suffer the penalties that are sure to follow all violations of the Creator's immutable injunctions. The Church, as now conducted, including all sects, is an institution that throws all the responsibility of mismanaged government of body, soul, or spirit upon the blessed and immutable Creator of all things, an institution that recognizes no unalterable science of life in its tenets, an institution that, in its short-sightedness, has inscribed upon its banner, "Believe and be saved," whilst it overlooks the multitudinous injunctions of God and nature that point with the finger of science to good works, by which all are to let their light shine before men. These good works consist in the government of thinking beings, so that they understand, appreciate, and live a natural life, showing that although one has no place where to lay his head, still he would continue faithful to the end. An institution whose ministers or apostles sell out to the highest lucre bidders, like the voters in state, hence loves the uppermost seats at feast. The state, as now conducted, is an institution where cunning men mislead and make drunk with rum and flowery meaningless logic the masses of the voters, who are esteemed by the wily scoundrels good fellows when voting is to be done, to elevate them to positions which they yearn to usurp, that they may rob the children of earth of lucre and of their inalienable religious or natural liberties.
Applause.
An institution that places haughty cutthroats and wholesale thieves into the offices of trust of the government, who love filthy lucre, Moses' seat, and uppermost seats at feast, and prejudice more than God, nature, man, or fixed law.
Applause.
An institution that drives thousands into the broad road that leads to hell, impoverishes the millions at the glory of the few, drives many thereby to commit crime who are compelled to steal or starve, and builds prisons, penitentiaries, insane asylums, and poorhouses, into which they are cast for acts and conditions over which they had no control, and there to eke out a more miserable existence, while the popular cutthroats and wholesale thieves revel in wealth and power.
Applause.
Good people, awake to a sense of duty, and shuffle off these miserable bloodsuckers in your anti-natural church and state. Look through nature up to nature's God, and learn to know that virtue is nothing but voluntary obedience to truth.
Terrific applause. Scene 2, Insane Asylum. Miss Lucinda Armington's cell. Deacon Rob Stew enters her cell in a cloak.
How is my darling young lady? The last visit I made you was not as pleasant as either of us might have desired it, but I hope you will by this time know me and my intentions fully. Therefore, yield to my wishes like a wise, obedient child.
Indeed, sir. What are your intentions?
My intentions, my darling girl, are to make you my wife.
Well, and how do you propose to do this little business? By fair or foul means?
With a proud air.
Haughty lady, I'll tell you. By fair means, if you prefer it, and by foul, if the former don't suit you.
You must think that I am a fool or a baby. Do you forget the tutorage I gave you when you visited me on a previous occasion? Deacon Stew, you had better be careful, or I'll murder you before you can leave this cell.
Not so fast, my sweet young lady. Do you see this?
Draws a revolver and points it at her breast.
Now stand back, or I will shoot you.
Shoot, you cowardly villain!
Quick as lightning, she knocks the pistol from his hand, takes it herself, pointing it towards his breast. He winces like a cur and begs her.
Oh, do not shoot. The pistol is loaded.
He tries to back out of the door.
Stand still, and do not move one step, or I'll blow out your cowardly and villainous brains. Do you hear me? Remember, I am as good as my word.
He stands like a statue, petrified with fear. She laughs.
You are a fine fellow, a nice saint, a model deacon who dares to insult a helpless woman by all sorts of proposals and assaults. Now, I want you to listen to me sharply and swear by the powers above us that you will do as I wish you to do, or I will shoot you dead. Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
In the first place, I want you to swear that you will never more harm Victor Juno by word or deed, and will make immediate reparation for all the injury you have done him in the past. Swear it.
I cannot do that. Anything but that.
She cocks the pistol and fires a shot into his right arm.
This is shot number 1 to disable your right arm. The next will be to your black heart.
Oh, Lord, help me! Help me!
No, sir, the Lord won't help you, but I will.
Raising the pistol towards his heart.
Will you swear or die in your sin and shame?
I'll swear to anything. Propose the oath.
I will. Repeat after me without mental reservation or prevarication. I, Rob Stew, do solemnly swear, without mental reservation, that I will never injure, by word or deed, Victor Juno, and that I will make immediate reparation for all the injury I have done to him in the past, so help me heaven.
Now, Miss Armington, I have done it. Will you therefore put that pistol down and let me go in peace?
No, sir, not by a long ways. But you shall now give me your keys to this prison cell, and I will lock you up and leave this place in your stead.
Deacon Stew aside.
Mars, Miss Armington, would you be so cruel as to demand all this of me?
Yes, sir, and more. For fear that the demons and lunatics in the place below should recapture me, I'll demand you to take off your coat and hat and give them to me for a disguise, that I may represent your holy self for once in your life.
You certainly would not compel me to give you my garments.
Off with them, or die, coward!
Raises the pistol again. He obeys.
Now tear that sheet into bands and tie your holy feet tightly together.
Obeys again.
Here, take more. Make a loop. Place your hands behind your back into it.
He obeys, and she draws it tight, and then casts him into a corner and throws bedding on him. He screams.
I'll stop you from making a noise.
Stuffs rags into his mouth and ties a piece over them. She dons his clothes and leaves.
Now, I'll leave this infamous hole, and if I cannot get out of the place peacefully, I will use this pistol until all the bullets are expended. Someone shall be free or die.
She makes her way out, but is brought back again by the asylum officials. Enter 2 keepers and cross the stage.
William, there is something wrong in this ward. Do you know what it is?
Yes, Miss Armington has escaped from a cell, but the officials have secured her ladyship and are now conducting her back to her old quarters.
Poor creature.
Poor devil.
Exit both. They return her to the cell where the deacon is laid. Enter Phys-in-Chief and managers.
Where is the deacon?
There.
Pointing.
Under those bedclothes you will find him, waiting your august pleasure.
Great heaven, how came this so?
The deacon is brought forth with bloodshot eyes. They remove the shackles when he pretends to faint.
He only got his dues.
He's dying and you're his murderess, young woman.
Yes, in self-defense I subdued him, as anyone would, and as I would do again.
How did you accomplish this work of Satan?
Smiling and pointing to the pistol which he held in his hand.
I did it with that little thing you hold in your hand.
The deacon comes to, and seeing the pistol, snatches it from the P-in-Chief and pointing it at Miss A.
You she-devil! Die!
Misses her.
I'm confounded and confused at the state of things. What is the matter between you two? Will either of you explain?
If you wish to know the cause, I will tell you after you restore to me my wearing apparel.
What? Have you given your clothes to her for the purpose of allowing her to escape in this disguise?
No, indeed. I did not give them to her.
Yes, you did, coward.
Well, yes, I did give them to her, but not voluntarily.
I see now how it was.
Oh, Lord, how my arm aches.
Your arm? What causes it to ache?
Why, this she-devil of a woman shot me through it.
How did she get the pistol?
Well, brothers, I am ready to tell you all about it. I have been in the habit of visiting her, and she treated me so savagely that I feared that she would do me personal violence sometime.
Men laugh.
You may laugh, but I would as lief be housed up with a mad bull as with an infuriated she-devil like her.
He gives her a look. She returns the compliment with a fiendish smile.
Brothers, let us leave this cell. I will tell you all about this matter elsewhere.
I would rather you tell us in the presence of Miss Armington, as we should like to hear what she has to say to it.
Will you then keep her safely away from me? For my arm is painful, and she may make an assault upon me when I tell you all.
Men laugh again.
Come, brothers two, we will warrant that she shall not touch you.
I have been to visit this woman occasionally on errands of real charity. In fact, I love the girl, and would have taken her from this place and made her my own wife. Therefore, you may know that I intended no harm. But she abused me awfully, and the last visit preceding this one, she actually threatened my life.
Cowardly cutthroat! Tell the whole of it!
Who has the right to speak?
Savagely, with a frown at her.
Well, brothers, I made up my mind that hereafter, when I would visit this modest virgin, I would carry weapons of defense. Therefore, I brought that revolver with me today. She took it from me as I was about to defend myself against a furious assault upon me. I should have shot her, undoubtedly, had she not knocked it from my hand in less than the sparkle of an eye, and as quickly picked it up, and presented the muzzle of it to my breast, and vowed she would shoot me dead if I hesitated to obey her orders. I saw that she meant what she said, but still I thought she would not shoot me so freely as she once used her fists upon me. But I misplaced confidence in her, which is proven by her firing a bullet through my right arm on the least prevarication on my part to comply with her august orders. She vowed, after sending that bullet through my arm, that the next time I hesitated when she asked me to do a thing, she would shoot me through the heart. Now, I am no coward, but discretion
gives him a defiant look.
Yes, laugh, you miserable she-devil. But the next time I have business with you, I will fix you so you cannot do any harm to me or anyone else. Mind that.
Now addressing the men.
I was going to say, under certain circumstances, discretion was the better part of valor. Therefore, I obeyed the fiend and ingrate, and trusted to Providence. And you see, he has favored me.
He gives her a victorious look.
As he always does the elect.
You will see whom he favors if you live a little longer.
Never mind, my lady. I will be even with you yet. But this she-devil was not satisfied with shooting through this arm, but ordered me immodestly to take off my coat and hat and give them to her ladyship. I even hesitated a moment when she raised the pistol to my breast, and undoubtedly would have fired had I not quickly obeyed. Then she ordered me to tear a sheet to fragments, and tie my own feet together, and make a loop, and place my hands into it, when she had secured me as you have found me.
Miss Armington keeps her eyes on the pistol, whilst the P.C. holds it in his hand, after taking it from the deacon, and with a bound snatches it and jumps into a corner, points it at Deacon Stew's head.
Now leave speedily, all of you, or I will rid this world of a lot of the vilest cutthroats that ever breathed the breath of life.
Exit all speedily. Scene 3, Christian Temple. Secret meeting of the Order of Naturalists. Dr. Victor Juno's stirring speech to the naturalists. Groove 1.
Dear brothers, you all know what is incumbent upon every one of us in these troublesome times. When the leaders of piety meet in secret conclave continually, for the purpose of subjugating those who behold God in nature, and who recognize nature to be the language through and by which an infinite, beneficent, and immutable Creator speaks to us in scientific arts, it is time that we gird on the armor, not only of defense, but of aggression.
Applause.
I ask each of you, then, do we love our scientific, progressive teachings and an infallible Creator as much as these vile vipers do their master, the devil, and his work? Do we fear them who can destroy the body, but cannot harm the soul of the just? Do we assume to be men, whilst we permit these serfs of the devil to usurp all power on earth? Or will we strike for our rights, our homes, God, and fixed law?
Applause.
Brothers, now I am ready to lead you to the rescue of my betrothed wife, Miss Lucinda Armington.
Tremendous applause. Scene 4. Insane Asylum. Miss Lucinda Armington's cell, but before entering, Deacon Rob Stew gives directions to two of the keepers in corridor.
George and William, I want you to take this pair of handcuffs and put them securely on the she-devil. Place her hands behind her back and fasten them tightly, so that she cannot slip them off. Also, light the gas in her cell.
Your Honor, we shall be careful and do matters rightly.
George and William enter cell.
Now, my proud tigress.
Gleefully rubbing his hands.
This time I will have you fast enough. Yes, and I have chosen the night for the gratification of my love.
Miss, we have business with you.
Who's there, and what do you want at this unseasonable hour of the day?
Sitting at her table meditating, they advance without speaking.
Stop, or I'll shoot you.
Your threats are barren, for your pistol is empty. We know what we are about.
Instantly, as he gets near her, she deals him a fearful blow on the head with the pistol, which sends him reeling. William now tries his hand, but also receives a blow that sends him dumb to the floor. George scrambles up.
Miss Armington, we do not wish to harm you, nor did we come here of our own accord to insult you, but we were ordered here.
Who ordered you, and what to do?
William on the floor groans.
You have killed him.
What is that to me? And I kindly tell you, unless you leave me, I will kill you both, mark me.
Miss Armington's back is to the door, which is rattled by the deacon, when George catches her elbow as she turns to see who is at the door.
Have you handcuffed her securely?
Yes, sir.
Then I will come in.
Enters.
Oh, you most miserable coward. I thought it was your pusillanimous work.
Exit George and William, the latter staggering.
Truly, miss, I made up my mind to be even with you. I intend to make you frequent visits at this hour and in this manner. How do you like it?
I'll throw him off his guard till I find a chance to punish him.
Aside.
Well, I suppose I must submit, because you certainly have me fully in your power.
You seem to appreciate that, do you?
Rubbing his hands in glee.
I mean to use you just as I please, since you refuse to become my wife. However, I will again say that if you voluntarily marry me, I will not force you. Now, choose between the two, for I shall conquer you.
Do you think so?
I know so, for the Lord is always on the side of his elect.
He now places his arm around her waist, pulls her to his breast. She permits it gracefully, only she turns her face aside when he kisses her on the cheek. Suddenly she takes his long ear in her mouth and bites it until the deacon fairly yells.
Murder! Murder!
Miss Armington holds on to his ear until his hot blood runs so thickly down over her face that it suffocates and causes her to swoon. She sinks to the floor, and the deacon inclines over her prostrate form. Enter Dr. Juno and naturalists, Juno flinging the deacon aside.
Fiend, who are you, and what have you done to cause her to bleed?
He lifts her up and gently lays her on the bed.
Oh, my poor, poor, dearly beloved Lucinda.
Oh, God, where am I? Go away, you fiend, or I'll murder you yet.
Dr. Juno, weeping.
It is I, my precious darling, your own betrothed husband. Fear nothing.
She stares with wild amazement.
Great God, is it you? Oh, let this not be a dream. I pray, great Father, let this not be a dream that will vanish with the awakening of my slumbers.
No, no, my precious one, it is not a dream, but a bona fide reality.
He weeps like a child until his entire form shakes.
Where is Deacon Stew?
What? May the curse of heaven and hell fall upon your lecherous carcass.
Springing away from her, grasps the deacon and is just going to strike him, but she screams.
Oh, Victor, come here.
He obeys.
Do not murder him, my dear Victor. Leave him to heaven and the wrath of his Maker.
Rises from her bed.
Darling, your opportune words have saved his miserable life. But what has he done to you that you are so bloody?
The blood that you see on me came from his body, not from mine. He had me handcuffed, and then he insulted me.
What? Handcuffed you?
Yes, and they hurt my wrists severely. Please remove them, dear Victor.
Great heaven! You handcuffed and I not see it. What a stupid fellow I am. But I will murder this foul demon.
Looking daggers at him.
Soldiers, bind him like a felon. Place his hands uncomfortably behind his back. Look, like this poor young lady's are. Only make them tighter, so he may receive his reward. Have you the keys to these handcuffs, old hypocrite?
To the deacon.
Yes, sir. Here they are.
Dr. Juno undoes.
My darling, free once more from the shackles of these bloody conspirators, who shall be tortured nigh unto death.
Looking at the deacon.
But shall yet live to feel their degradations whilst they writhe in agony.
Mercy, oh mercy, be merciful.
Merciful? Merciful to you, a fiend, carrion, monster, cutthroat, ravisher of innocent, helpless woman? You dare to ask for mercy at my hands again, and I will cut you to pieces by slow degrees, and cauterize every incision, you infamous daredevil.
Addressing her.
My beloved one, did he injure you?
Blushing.
No, sir.
It is well for him. How came he to bleed?
He endeavored to kiss me when I caught his ear by my teeth and punished him severely, holding on until I was exhausted and until he pleaded for mercy.
You then, my brave heroine, have punished him even whilst handcuffed. This is rich. Brethren, away with him.
Exit naturalists and deacon. End of Act 3. Act 4 of The Social War of 1900 by Simon Landis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Social War of 1900, or The Conspirators and Lovers. Act 4, Scene 1. General Armington's drawing room. Dr. Juno and Lucinda Armington having a pathetic interview. Groove 3.
Oh, what can I do for having brought so much misery upon you, my dear, my most precious Lucinda?
Noble, brave, Herculean hero, I love you 1,000,000 times more for thinking so kindly of me, but do not worry about it.
But I have really been the cause of all the misery that you and your excellent father had to undergo. And you, dear saint, who have always had all you wanted or needed, have been taken away from everything that was delightful, and have been cast into a dungeon, been insulted, abused, and tortured on my account.
But listen, my precious one, I have found you by the loss you speak of. Yes, for a brief period of suffering and loss of imaginary wants, I have gained a jewel that is worth more to me than kingdoms and worlds combined. Do not deem me a poor, weak chit of a thing, but look upon me as a woman who, knowing the right, dare also maintain it, and if the firmament overhead falls.
Holy angel!
Embracing and kissing her.
You speak like an inspired oracle from heaven.
Yes, and who made me such but your noble self?
Touching him tenderly under his chin. Dr. Juno raising his head.
Heaven be glorified for giving me this helpmeet. Now I am blessed. Now I am crowned with glory, and I feel that 10,000 deaths would be painless with you by my side. You, whom I looked upon as a tenderly bred and lavishly raised child of affluence, have grown an inspired seraph, who can vitalize the dormant faculties of sage and sire. You, whose talismanic power and expansive mentality can teach me what I thought no woman could do. You, who are worthy to become the wife of a throned monarch. How can I ever repay you for this intrinsic heroism?
Precious dear, you can repay me fully by continuing to love me, and no woman is happier than to see her lover act like a man of principle and a man of honor, who would suffer and die for the right, as I am convinced you would, for you have already suffered the most cruel martyrdom, have gone through many dangers, but have been saved by a higher power. Is this not so?
Yes, sweet saint, I am yours, body and soul, and yours alone, forever.
He presses her to his breast and kisses her. Scene 2. Tabernacle Hall. Last meeting of the bloody conspirators. Deacon Rob Stew making a speech. Groove 2.
Brothers and sisters of the sacredly secret conclave, this Dr. Juno has fairly tortured me. We are besieged on all sides by those heretics who believe in and follow the teachings of Dr. Juno. And unless we can exercise a powerful unanimous influence with the orthodox religious classes, and also with those who deal in the merchandise to which Dr. Juno is opposed, we are lost. Just think, I have been compelled to listen to the recital of our solemn oath by Dr. Juno himself, and after he had finished its recital, he had the audacity to ask me, "Deacon, how do you like my style of an oath?" Ugh. And he looked at me with an eye that said, "Don't I have your oath verbatim?"
What did you answer him? Oh, for I am actually feeling weak in my loins.
Axe limber.
To be compelled to listen to this dangerous story of Brother Stew.
I said nothing, because I was struck with amazement.
How does it come that you were found in company with this vile innovator?
Do you not know that Dr. Juno mobbed the insane asylum one night and liberated Miss Lucinda Armington?
Distressed.
Why, certainly this is news to me, and I think it is so to the balance of the saints. Further, I cannot understand why he has not been arrested for so doing, if he is not summarily punished for breaking the peace and for intruding himself upon our holy institutions. He will grow bolder and become a more dangerous rival in the field of conflict.
Noble Sister Clover, you argue well, and I tremble, verily shake in my boots at this awfully perilous state of affairs.
Friends, will you hear me out before you come to such conclusions?
Of course we will.
Well, should we arrest Dr. Juno as he dared us to do, he would profit by it at our peril, because Miss Armington is now at liberty, whilst Dr. Juno is surrounded by a numerous and determined army of soldiers, who obey his commands without prevarication or hesitation. In fact, it is said that his men are ready to invade even this sacred hall and arrest us all, which would be an end to us.
Prester Pier, trembling with terror.
Oh, heaven! Oh, look down from above and shield me! Oh, Lord, I feel that we are lost! 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 Oh, I have always been fearful that we would make some awful blunders and would be hung some day. Oh, Lord, I feel a choking sensation already.
You have always been a contemptible coward, and I order you to shut Pan. If you cannot encourage the saints, do not discourage them. But I want to hear our noble deacon finish what he has to say, when I will show you a plan to save our cause, and that will explode Dr. Juno's movements.
Noble, holy, immaculate Sister Clover, oh, you do so comfort me and calm my fears, for I have never found you to fail in anything.
Silence, and let the deacon finish.
Dr. Juno knows all our secrets, but how he has obtained them, I am puzzled to know, because I cannot believe that we have one brother or sister who would be wicked enough to violate our solemn oath, knowing what would be the result.
Yes, let them remember Harry Gossamer's fate.
I am not a coward, but since Miss Armington is at liberty, whilst Dr. Juno is surrounded by good and influential men, I must say that great danger is hanging over the sainthood. Still, I am in favor of rallying the friends of the elect all over the country. But I am myself a prisoner of war, being under parole, and should I be found to aid or abet in this movement, I would be mobbed and shot or hung.
I cannot think it, nor can I see why you lay so much stress upon the freedom of Miss Armington. She is nothing but a chit of a thing, who has always depended upon her father, who is a confirmed lunatic.
Do not deceive yourself, noble Sister Clover, about Miss Armington, for she is anything but a chit of a thing. She is a perfect demon, a tigress, a strategist, and a cunning, fierce, and deep woman, who will wield more influence by half than any living man, if she gets a chance.
She shall not get a chance, then.
Then she will make a chance, for she has outwitted and outgeneraled me on every occasion.
At this instant a furious knock at the door interrupts the speakers. Enter Dr. Juno and soldiers.
I arrest you all.
The conspirators resist, a battle ensues, the naturalists conquering the conspirators. Scene 3, General Armington's drawing room. Dr. Juno and Lucinda Armington conversing about the war. Groove 3.
Dear Victor, our wedding must then, of a necessity, be postponed again on account of the incoming war.
Yes, loved one. I cannot attend to anything now, but to prepare for cruel war. And this is the most cruel of all wars.
Are you sure, precious darling?
Leaning on his shoulder, weeping.
That you have plenty of followers to war against this people who claim to constitute the government?
Certainly, my dear. The secret order of naturalists are legion all over the Union, but they do not go by this name. It is good management to let the enemy think that we are feeble, when they will not make any great preparations to meet us in the field.
My noble Victor, you truly are a great hero and enthusiastic strategist. May you prove yourself as competent to overcome the enemy as you have proved to persuade my mind that you are a Hercules.
And you are an angel, to encourage, appreciate, and comfort the sincere reformer, a thing most needed at all times. I love you 10,000 times more for your hearty cooperation in this great work.
Thanks, darling, and I promise that if you should be so unfortunate as to fall in battle or be taken prisoner, I will take your place.
Dr. Juno snatching her to his bosom.
God bless you for that, my exquisite Lucinda. I am proud of you, and your heroic determination has fired my soul anew, and I shall go forth with more spirit than ever.
My dear Victor, was it not an awful thing for Congress to accept bribes from the Pharisees, to pass the amendment of the Constitution, as if God had to be recognized in public documents?
Still, it is just what I wanted to see, because this overt act caused my ball to roll, and I now have an opportunity to issue my first war proclamation.
Are you then so anxious for war, my precious one?
The sooner it comes the better, so long as the right cannot conquer without it. So farewell, my dear betrothed wife. I feel fully convinced that we shall meet again.
Embrace.
Goodbye.
They part but return and embrace. End of Act 4. Act 5 of The Social War of 1900 by Simon Landis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Social War of 1900, or The Conspirators and Lovers. Act 5, Scene 1, General Armington's drawing room. Miss Armington receives a telegram that Dr. Juno is lost, reads it.
Great heaven! A dispatch with our sign of death!
Tears it open and reads.
Dr. Juno was lost in last night's battle. Harry Gossamer. Now, oh now, I must be clear-headed and make for headquarters.
Rings for Judy McCrae. Enter Judy.
Judy, my dear, Victor is lost, and I must instantly go and take his place.
Oh, holy St. Patrick, and ye would not go to be lost with him? Am it not enough for the dear doctor to be killed?
Call Pat to me.
I will, sweet lady.
Exit Judy.
I shall take my faithful servants, Pat and Judy, with me.
Enter they.
Pat, get the fastest horses ready, and yourself to boot, to carry us to the railroad depot. I must take Dr. Juno's place. He is lost.
Lost?
Horror-struck comically.
Be my soul! Yes, that dirty Dakin be the cause of it, I believe. And will ye go and fight? And if ye do, I goes with ye till the blood be as deep as me neck.
Pat, darling, ye would be killed, would ya, and leave me alone in this bloody world?
Judy, there is no time for trifling. Get ready to start.
Yes, ma'am, and I will.
And I'll do the same thing.
Exit Pat and Judy.
God look down and comfort a bleeding heart.
Weeps. Scene 2. Court-martial of the conspirators at their headquarters in an uncouth apartment. General Orthod, President. Colonel Sanctiblower, General Longhead and Wisdom, Captain Savage, and half a dozen others, besides soldiers as court officers. Groove 3.
Gentlemen of the Commission, this man Juno has been badly wounded, but he is able to stand his trial. He is a brave fellow. Did you notice yesterday, when this commission visited him in the hospital, how he thanked us for the kindness of granting him a trial by court-martial?
Yes, Your Honor. He thanked us for the opportunity of trial, having evidently expected we would shoot him without trial, as he does our men.
He will find that he will not have much to thank for by the time we are fought with him and his routed and ruined army.
Bring in the prisoner.
Enter Dr. Juno on crutches, guarded by 4 officers.
The court is ready to proceed with the trial of the prisoner. Are counsel ready to proceed?
We are prepared to proceed.
Dr. Juno is ordered to stand up.
Victor Juno, you are charged with high treason and murder. How say you, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
In a cool and composed manner.
Dr. Juno, have you counsel engaged?
No, sir. I will be fully competent to act as my own counsel.
The court is ready to hear the case.
Your Honor, and gentlemen of the Commission, it becomes my painful duty to charge the prisoner at the bar with felony of the highest grade. Firstly, this indictment charges you with high treason and inciting to mob law. Secondly, it charges you with cold, premeditated murder of innocent persons who have fallen into the hands of the rebel horde, which you claim to control. Thirdly, it charges you with riot, robbery, and malfeasance of office. The line of prosecution which I propose to pursue is that of the second charge, cold, premeditated murder, which is ample to find a verdict for the states for murder in the first degree, the penalty of which, in times of rebellion, is death by shooting. I will not ask this commission to hear useless testimony, neither will I take up their precious time with the discussion of the minor charges as found in this bill, but content myself with proving that you, Victor Juno, the prisoner at the bar, are guilty of shooting men dead, contrary to the usages of civilized life. Will George Henry Atkinson take the witness's stand?
Sworn.
I was in the next to this last battle, which was fought in the southern part of the state of Ohio. Myself and several thousand other soldiers of the Union were taken prisoners, and after the fray was over, as Dr. Juno's officers marched us toward headquarters of the prisoner at this bar, Dr. Juno, I slipped away and returned by good luck to our own army. The rest were all shot by the orders of Dr. Juno.
Were there any of our generals taken prisoners?
Yes, 4.
Name them.
Generals Cadwell, Stew, Pansy, and Pierce.
Were these 4 generals also shot?
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether our wounded men were kindly treated?
Yes, sir. They were very kindly treated, and were very skillfully doctored, were very soon cured up, but were shot as soon as well enough to stand upright.
Did this Dr. Juno, the prisoner at the bar, himself order them to be shot, and did he not give them a chance to defend themselves?
He did himself order all to be shot, but he gave them only this chance of defence, that they should voluntarily take his oath of allegiance, and go into his army at once, if well enough to do so. If they refused, they were shot.
Cross-examine.
Did you see anyone shot, with your own eyes, in the manner you have stated to this commission?
No, sir. I did not see anyone shot, but I was told so, and read your proclamation and army orders to that effect in the newspapers.
You should not swear to what you hear, or what you have read in the newspapers. It is not a sound doctrine. That will do. I have no more questions to ask.
William N. Snigglefritz, sworn.
What do you know of this man, the prisoner at the bar?
I know nothing but what I have heard and read in newspapers.
That is not legal evidence. That will answer.
Mr. Snigglefritz, were you a soldier for the Union in this present conflict?
No, sir. Not exactly a soldier, but I have been with the army.
What did you do with the army?
I sold liquor and tobacco.
To whom did you sell liquor and tobacco?
To anyone that would buy.
If I catch you again at that work, I'll have you court-martialed. Mind me.
Yes, sir.
Gustav Fierce, sworn.
Where are you from, and what do you know of Dr. Juno, the prisoner at the bar? Tell us all about it.
Fierce, a rapid speaker.
I will. I was a spy in the army of the working men, and saw all your drunken soldiers shot in battle after battle. Dr. Juno was always doing his duty, and he was always sober, too. A thing that I cannot say of the Union Army.
Stop, Fierce. You talk entirely too fast, and too much that is irrelevant to the subject. Tell us, did you ever see or hear the prisoner shoot, or order anyone to be shot who was a prisoner of war?
Yes, sir. I've seen the prisoner shot, and have heard the prisoner say to his men, "Be sure you shoot well, aim well, shoot fair and quick." In fact, the prisoner is a practical, clear-headed, and sober man, which is more than you can say.
Stop.
Yes, sir, I'll stop, but...
You must not speak any more than you are asked.
I don't, for he told me to tell him all about this matter, and I simply complied with his request, and told him what I knew to be a live fact, for, really, I consider Dr. Juno the best soldier and purest man living.
Now stop, sir, I'll send you to prison.
Oh, goodness, do you think you can scare me with prisons? No, sir, I am a native-born naturalist, although I do not belong to the secret order of naturalists, of which Dr. Juno is the founder and father.
That will do. I have no more to ask.
But I have not yet finished.
Never mind that, but go. Leave the stand.
I won't do it.
Your Honor, may I be permitted to cross-examine this witness?
Certainly, sir.
Mr. Fierce, were you in our army when Generals Caldwell, Stew, Pansy, and Pierce were taken prisoners?
Yes, sir, indeed. I was at home at that hour.
Do you know if these generals, Caldwell, Stew, Pansy, and Pierce, are alive, or were they shot?
They were alive 3 days ago. You know that you retained them as hostages.
Whispering and shocking surprise of the court.
That will do.
Testimony closes on both sides. Honourable Bluster Gibbons, prosecuting attorney's speech.
Gentlemen of the Commission, the duty is incumbent upon me as a loyal man to my God, to the elect, and to the country, to argue this case in such a manner as to do reverence to our holy cause. Gentlemen, you have listened with great interest to the witnesses who were this morning examined. If we were not each of us fully assured that this right reverend, this doctor of divinity and doctor of medicine and psychology, was guilty of the crimes of riot, treason, and cold-blooded murder, I should have more to say about the matter than I probably shall in the few remarks which I propose to submit to you in this case. If there were any symptoms of insanity, if he had any slight signs of not being compos mentis, we might have some sympathy for the creature, but a non-compos mentis could not wield the mighty influence for evil that this prisoner at the bar has done. He is a self-made demon who can speak so plausibly to the masses as to cause them to believe that he is the most learned and wise man when he is moved by Satan, guided by imps, and sustained by the cheek of all that is infernal and damnable. Who of you, my hearers, doubt this? Who of you doubt anything that I have said of this deliberate murderer? I will wage all that is sacred to me that if this honorable court will permit it, he will make an attempt in a harangue to justify himself in every crime that he has figured. He is so lost to decency and good breeding that his conscience is seared, and it is only sport to the wretch to murder our innocent soldiers. And if he had us this moment in his power, as we have him, he would order us to be drawn into a line, and place a cannon at one end of the line, and blow us to glory like dogs. Yes, like he did our soldiers in every battle where any of our men fell into his dastardly hands. In conclusion, gentlemen of the Commission, I do not wish to insult your intelligence, nor continue to argue with you as though you were also conscience-void, like this beast at the bar. Although he looks self-satisfied and composed, but I assure you that he is almost scared to death. Yes, I can at times see an expression on his countenance that shows his dread of the result of this just trial. Let us make an example of this leader of the greatest mob of ruffians that ever breathed breath. Who are his followers and rioters? I will tell you, the greasy, dirty mechanic, the common laborer, the off-scouring of the land, who are not good enough for us to wipe our feet upon. Yes, these stinking working men make up his so-styled army and navy, who have stolen our war implements by a series of secret society movements, knowing well enough that by fair means they could not have given us so much trouble. Gentlemen, I am not going to doubt your morality, your virtue, your Christian graces. I am not going to suppose for a moment that you mean to stand by and justify this flagrant violation of law by any further remarks upon this subject of these atrocious wholesale murders. I shall simply present the testimony to you under the charge of rigid justice, and will ask you to find a verdict of guilty of murder in the first degree.
Dr. Juno's great defiant defense.
Mr. President and gentlemen of the Commission, as I am privileged to defend myself, permit me, in the onset of my remarks, to say that I shall not appear before you as a whining coward, nor shall I seek favors at your hands. You have not proved anything against me upon which, according to stereotyped orthodox usages, you could find a verdict of guilty against me for murder in any degree. But I emphatically acknowledge that I have ordered all your men to be shot dead who were taken prisoners, and who would not take our oath of allegiance and fight in our army and navy against you, after I exhorted them to do so, and gave them an opportunity to defend themselves.
Hisses and groans.
I am aware that this course of warfare is looked upon by all nations as outrageous, but I am not controlled or guided by the opinion of this or any other nation, simply because this and every nation on the globe are governed more by customs or habits than principle. War is always cruel, and thousands of innocent ones must suffer for the guilty in such outrageous times. But the right always conquers in the end. It was such men as yourselves, yes, you and your proselytes, that have caused this barbarous conflict, and it is I who had shot and intend to have all your rebellious men speedily shot when taken as prisoners. And if I die at your hands, Generals Caldwell, Stew, Pansy, and Pierce die also. Such have been my orders. However, I feel that it would be best for my cause if you would shoot me. Therefore, I resolutely and fearlessly defy you to shoot me.
Cries of hear, hear.
If I should fall at your hands, It would cause such a holy indignation throughout the Union, amongst the sovereign people, the working people, whom the Honourable Bluster Gibbons styles the offscoring of the land, who are not good enough for you to wipe your feet upon, that they would wipe you out like slate pencil marks. Yes, I am fully convinced that I had better die at your hands. So find me guilty of anything, and vent your hypocritical spleen upon him who has been a stumbling block in your unhallowed path, and then you will see the glory of God appear.
Tremendous applause.
I have done, and it remains for you to do as you see fit. In either case, I will be benefited. May God have mercy on your souls.
Exit Dr. Juno under guard. The verdict and sentence.
Well, gentlemen, I scarcely know what we had better do with this bold man. If we find him guilty of murder in the first degree, as we ought, and sentence him to be shot, we may prove to be our own worst enemies, for, assuredly, it will cause a mutiny in our ranks, which was plainly to be seen when Juno made that daredevil speech. I say, not guilty.
I say, guilty of all charges.
A high confusion now occurs, but the guilties carry by a great majority.
Then, gentlemen, as you have found him guilty of murder in the first degree, I order the officers to bring in the prisoner for sentence.
Enter Dr. Juno and 4 officers.
Dr. Juno, it is my painful duty to announce to you that the Commission has found you guilty on all the charges. I am therefore compelled to pronounce the sentence, which is that you be shot tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. May God have mercy on your soul.
Thank you.
Scene 3. Headquarters of the Army of the Naturalists. Miss Lucinda Armington at her post in camp as General. Groove 1.
Soldiers, Dr. Juno is condemned to die tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I have received a private dispatch to that effect. The entire Army and Navy must move at 8 o'clock this evening, and if Providence is on our side...
Raising her eyes heavenward.
My beloved Victor will yet be saved.
Hurrah! Hurrah! Hurrah!
The drums beat and the furious sound of war is heard without.
Soldiers, move cautiously and secretly upon the enemy and deal him a permanent death blow. Show no mercy to persistently rebellious souls, but send them hence in haste, and let particular terror reign throughout the country until the last foe expires. And may God and the right have all the glory.
Terrific applause. Scene 4. Headquarters of the Conspirators' Army. Dr. Juno brought out to be shot, but the Army of the Naturalists arrive just in the nick of time to save him, and a terrible battle ensues, the Naturalists being victors. Whole stage. Enter a captain and 20 soldiers.
Soldiers, the hour has come for the execution of a man who may be brave, but who has done much that is uncivilized. I therefore charge you to aim direct for his heart when I give the command, and penetrate it so thoroughly that an end of this cruel war may come.
The soldiers are desponding in appearance and manifest no enthusiasm in this work. Enter Juno between guards, dressed in plain, neat attire.
Victor Juno, it grieves me that I am called upon to execute this sentence of the court-martial, which is, that you be shot at this hour. If you have any wish to make known, or word to send, I should be happy to gratify you by hearing you express it before the veil of death closes over you forever.
I have but one wish.
He raises his eyes and casts them pitifully upon the soldiers who are to shoot him.
And that is, that the cause of God and the poor misled people might conquer speedily.
Turning to the captain.
Now, sir, I am ready to die.
Soldiers, prepare. Aim.
Enter Deacon Rob Stew, terribly agitated.
Oh, great heaven! Is Juno alive yet? The enemy is upon us in furious array.
War without.
Sum up all your soldiers quickly, and send them forth to repulse these demons.
Exit the captain and his soldiers. The deacon looks at Juno with scorn and attempts to murder him by advancing towards him with drawn sword.
You infamous heretic have escaped death again. But heaven has spared me to do the work.
Enter Pat O'Connor with a huge club and kills the deacon.
Begorra, and you bloody curmudgeon, take that.
Juno recognizes Pat. They embrace.
Oh, dear Pat.
Pointing to the deacon.
God and the right always conquer. Look, Pat, our would-be murderer is finished.
In rushes the army of the naturalists. Juno shouts.
Free again, thanks to the Eternal Father. Come on, fellow naturalists. I will lead you to victory.
Exit all. Enter orthodox officers.
Comrades, we are all lost unless the people join us, which they won't do. To arms, all! Rouse the army, concentrate the forces, and strike vehemently.
Exit. After which the final battle is fought, and the people aiding the naturalists cause the orthodox army to be slaughtered by the thousands, the leading officers of the latter being shot and pierced by swords. Juno at the head of his army appears unharmed in front, etc. Reverend Joe Peer, Dr. Toy Pantsy, and all the leading conspirators and naturalists at head of the battle, leading naturalists killing the leading conspirators. A tremendous sword combat by Dr. Juno and General Orthod. Footnote: the play may end here unless a transformation scene is desired. End footnote. Scene 5. Dr. Juno and Miss Armington are married. So also are Pat O'Connor and Judy McCrae, and a scene of Eden gladness in the shape of a transformation scene closes the war, showing the dawn of the millennium. Dr. Juno sits on the throne of grace, and besides him his wife, and on the side of Mrs. Juno sit Pat and Judy in apparent humility, satisfaction, and love, whilst the naturalists are plainly clad and make up a picture of pure, beautiful, healthy, and happy family. All this should appear to be in a garden like Eden.
Beloved of mankind, we are now universally blessed with one faith, one interest, one heritage, one end, namely happiness. May, therefore, he, who is for ever the same, have all the glory for ever and ever.
My soul swells with a never-ceasing bliss since the new era has been established, and I thank heaven, my victor, and these good people for the overflowing of my cup.
Let us praise God by uplifting our voices in an anthem of thanksgiving.
They all sing, whilst a brilliant transformation of features, etc., takes place, or ascending of Victor and Lucinda. The end. End of Act 5. End of the Social War of 1900 by Simon Landis.